Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Ear Hustling Podcast, special episode 10 at 10 with EHP. As you see, we got, I just rhymed, Eric. I'm a rapper now. Um, Welcome, Eric.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, audience.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, Eric. I really don't want to talk to you anymore. We got a very special guest. For those of you who saw our special talent search episode, The Show of Shows, you will recognize this young lady, Lakin, as our winner. Welcome, Lakin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm over in Riverside right now visiting family, and it is just blazing hot over here in Southern California right now. It's supposed to be on record one of the hottest weekends like ever. So
Oh, wow. Wow.
yeah, so we're doing what we can over here, but we're all good.
Well, thank goodness for air conditioning and fans.
Yes, sir. Relying on that for sure.
Well, Lakin, we have a few questions we want to ask you. So let's just go ahead and jump in. When did you start singing?
I mean, I'm from a musical family, so I've been singing since out of the womb, I'm sure, just kind of born into it. My dad was a percussionist and a background singer with George Benson, who's a, legendary jazz guitar player. So I grew up, with a high caliber of musicians around, from local ones to the ones he traveled with, and just kind of stumbled into, learning how to sing and learning instruments and doing the whole music thing.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, Lakin, let me say this is a 10 at 10 show. I have tons of questions, but I'm going to be respectful of your time and the viewers and try to keep it as close to the 10 minutes as possible. Eric, try to keep me honest here as well.
I'll try. I don't think you've been honest since never mind. It's not about me and you today. It's about
I will mute you, Eric. Lakin, who is your inspiration?
I get asked that question all the time, and I never have a good enough answer for it because my inspirations are so eclectic and just so ever-reaching. I literally can hear a song I've never heard on the radio before, or somebody can turn me on to something and I can take one phrase or the way that they sang something or, the rhyme scheme of it. I can take all kinds of different takeaways from these songs and it can directly influence, a song that I write. I'm making a behind the scenes book right now, behind the scenes, if you will, book of each song off of my latest record, and as I'm going through them I'm seeing, oh yeah, like I had an inspiration from this specific song, this phrase of this song. So in general, I just kind of find that I'm very much an intentional listener of music in general, and I just like to hear something different all the time. As far as artists though, I just respect any songwriters, people who own their craft, musicians. I'm just inspired by anybody who can be excellent, in what they do in the music scene. And I feel like that's moving in and of itself. It's inspiration all by itself.
okay. I have a question. Do you ever have a person who's like, ooh, if I could do a collaboration with this artist, who would it be?
Gosh, I was just thinking about that because there's so many. I really love the artist Her. She's great. I feel like we have similar vibes too, so that'd be awesome. There's a guitarist and a producer named Tom Misch. I would love to work with him. John Mayer is one of my first influences as far as like singing and songwriting. Sarah Bareilles, same thing. Leanne LaHavis. There's just so many different people that are on my list of collaborators I would love to work with.
All right, and then I've got one more question because I know James has some. Do you have a preference in terms of what's a favorite, the singing or the instrument playing?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like, kind of referring to your first question, singing is kind of just something that I've always done. So I think because it comes so naturally to me, I never really think of it like I'm doing something. I don't know if that makes sense, but when I'm playing an instrument, I have to work at it more. it doesn't necessarily come as naturally to me. So I feel like it is something for me that is more of a challenge, and it interests me a little bit more, like figuring out chord progressions and where the song's gonna go. I feel like in that sense, it's a little bit more intriguing to me. But all that to say, I've lost my voice, a handful of times, and it's just like heartbreaking because it's, singing is just like breath for me. It's like I just do it.
Well, you're excellent at both. So we definitely appreciate you working on your talents, and we definitely appreciate you sharing your talents with us. Mr. Montgomery?
Yeah, definitely. Eric, I finally agree with you on something. Uh, so, Lakin, Honeysuckle, that was the song you performed in the first round. Tell us the story behind Honeysuckle. What inspired you to write that song?
So, and again, about that book that I'm putting together right now, I was just finishing this one. So I had to go back in my head because sometimes I write songs and I kind of forget some of the initial sparks, that became the inspiration. That one is funny because I had gone to the Honda Center for my wife's basketball game. And as soon as I left the arena, I was taking a long walk, back to my car because that place is massive. And I just happened to pass these vines of honeysuckles. And they're so common in Riverside and where I grew up. They were all around like the neighborhoods. And we always, as kids, we would always take them off and, suck the nectar out of it. And I was just like looking at the bush and just kind of, feeling nostalgic about it. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of like a good metaphor for love, you just like the appreciation of the beauty of it, but also that, it's like so sweet. And, there's all these different things about it. So I was like, that's a cool idea. So I went back to my car. I luckily had my guitar in there. And I kind of just started to write the music without any melody or lyrics, just kind of the idea of like the vibe that I wanted to bring. So I was like, okay, I know I want it to be nostalgic. I know I want it to be happy, have this kind of like joyful thing. And so ultimately, I started writing the music, and it's the most musically complex song that I have. There's 3 different keys that it goes between in the song, like chord change wise. And as a matter of fact, when I was writing it in the car, I got to the end of the verse and I was like, I don't even know chordally how to get back to the chorus. So I sat there for the longest time trying different combinations of chords to make it seem like a natural progression. So that was kind of the initial, inspiration for the song. And then as I performed it more and as I was looking how I wanted to produce it, I reverted back to that nostalgic idea. So when you listen to the record, like the actual version on the album, it has a very Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, Spiral Staircase kind of like throwback feel to it. And I intentionally wanted it to sound that way because I just thought it sounded happy, and that era and those, bands that had those big horn sounds, they just bring like a happiness, and that's
Right.
what I wanted it to sound like. So hopefully it came across that way in the end, but yeah, it
It
had a
definitely
lot
did.
of inspiration there with the retro, kind of sound.
Okay. Speaking of retro, there was one video I've talked to you a couple about a different songs I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah.
I believe it was you and your family covering Africa.
Yep.
So it looked like you guys were. I mean, it was no act whatsoever. It looked like you guys were having a great time
Oh
performing.
yeah.
How often do you guys get together and just jam out?
It's funny. We haven't done as many videos like that, or even really like just unintentional or intentional get-togethers with music. Um, what's interesting is it's more sporadic, I think, with us. We all have different areas of kind of musical taste and expertise. So, I obviously do this full time for a living as a singer-songwriter and musician, but I mentioned my dad. He also still plays, with different bands, and he's a percussionist and a singer. My older brother grew up playing the drums, and he was in band and did like percussion, and he can sing as well. So he actually does background vocals on a couple of my songs on the record.
Hmm.
And my younger brother is actually also a full time music industry personnel. He is a DJ. He does a lot of stuff with like underground hip hop. And so we kind of all have like different things. And so I was just home one weekend and I was like, hey, what if we like just do, something? I was like, I've been working on, different covers. I was like, what if we do like Africa? And I was like, okay, like let's just set it up in the backyard. So that literally we learned it that day, that
Wow.
morning, and I had my camera and I had all the different mics and just kind of set it up and just kind of went for it. So
You just happen to have the microphones and the cameras.
I,
That sounds like a setup to me, Lakin.
hey, I mean, it might have been a setup for them. They're probably like, "What the?
It's like
Do this right now?" But I carry my music stuff with me always because you never know when the inspiration is gonna strike. As a matter of fact, that microphone, I show one of the microphones in the video, and it's just this little tiny thing, but it plugs into the phone, and it's this app that Shure created so that you literally can record high quality stuff wherever you go.
Wow.
So that things I used.
That's awesome. Okay.
You know what? I have a question.
Yeah.
We know about your singing, we know about your music talents, but what hidden talents do you have? What would we be surprised at that you are like, yeah, what would we be surprised because we view you as an artist? What's your hidden talent?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's so hidden because it's really well documented now via the internet. But I played basketball all the way through college. So I played Division I sports for 2 years at Cal State Long Beach. At the same time, I was majoring in music. So
Okay, so we can have you on one of our sports shows too then.
that would be phenomenal. But I love it. I love sports in general. I'm a big fan of basketball specifically, but just a sports lover in general. I grew up with it, played since the time I was 7 all the way through college. So that'd probably be the biggest thing that most people don't know.
Definitely looking forward to having some basketball conversations with you.
Awesome.
So here's the first one. I wasn't prepared for this, but it's come up since you shared that. How surprised were you that of all people, James Harden came up with a defensive stop?
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
that's shade.
I feel like more than that, I was just, it was kind of comical to me that literally every possible point that OKC had, they just like messed it up, It's like,
Right.
okay, they're gonna get it this time. Like they have it this time, and then, James Harden, credit to him because he made a great play, but sometimes it's what do they say? Sometimes it's not so much about talent, but about luck. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying he's not talented. That's not the takeaway.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, from his track record, I feel like it was a little bit of luck with that,
Oh yeah.
Well, put it this way. If Russell Westbrook made that block, we wouldn't have been surprised.
Sure.
James Harden,
Sure.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah.
been on the receiving end of that play. I think back a few years ago, Manu Ginobili getting the block on him in their series. So he's been on the receiving end. So I guess he was due.
It was about time. He's paid his dues, I think.
Right. So LeBron to get him this series though. That I don't think he's going to get those blocks this time.
I would hope not. Me and my little brother is a huge fan of the NBA, and we were talking about who we wanted to win. He was like, I low key wanted OKC to win because I feel like that just would have been a sweep, with the Lakers, because we're huge Lakers fans over here. But we'll see. Hopefully it'll be a good series. But my hope is that the Lakers pull it out.
See, we're still going to be friends. I love the Lakers. I really do. LeBron
hates the
being
king.
from the East, that's a whole nother conversation. I cannot in good conscience root for the Lakers because I am just like a LeBron hater. I'm a LeBron hater. I respect his talent, best player in the world, but
Sure.
I'm a LeBron hater. I can't root for the Lakers until he retires.
I've had players like that in the past, so I respect that because it's like, sometimes you just can't get on board with somebody, and that's your prerogative. So I'm not gonna hate on you.
Well, thank you, because I would appear to be fake, and then James would remind me of it. Yeah, you would never root for LeBron, and so now I have to kind of like stick to it because of that dude.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's you got to stick to your guns, right? That's a true fan right there.
Right.
Exactly.
And a true hater.
Yeah.
So that brings me to another question. Last one for sports for me. What was the highlight of your basketball career?
So in college, I walked on to Long Beach State.
Mhm.
So, it was a surprise for me that I even made it, to be honest. And my role, I would say, my specific role was being a really great defender. I was very quick, and I feel like there were a couple games I had, the handful that I did get the chance to play more than like a minute or two, I was able to kind of show up and contribute to the team. So, there were a lot of good moments. And I think that playing college sports in general just really helped my work ethic for this industry because we all know that it's not an easy industry to be in. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of, criticism, and I'm an artist, so I'm naturally sensitive. So
Mm.
you kind of have to find the balance, between having the a little bit of the thick skin, but still keeping in touch, with your introspection. And so I feel like college in general, like that was the highlight. It was just being a part of the team. It was learning how to work hard. It was learning how to be tough mentally, and I think that those skills still serve me well today.
Okay. I know there's a lot more chapters to be written in your musical career. So, up to this point, what has been the highlight of your musical career?
Highlight, I I feel that so far, I've been really lucky, and I will say, like, especially as a female in the industry, um, I've been really lucky, like, to work with people who allowed me space to grow and to be creative and to put my ideas forth. And so I would say up till now, like the highlight for me is finishing this album that I just released. And I feel that a lot of the people that I worked with, let me back up. So I co-produced the whole album and executive produced the whole thing because I really wanted to establish like a Lakin sound. Like, what does Lakin sound like? If we heard it on the radio, you could be like, oh, that sounds like Lakin. And I feel that the people that I worked with on this album, um, which were almost all men, really gave me the platform to do that. And not to say, that they should. I feel like that should be the standard,
Mm.
regardless of who you are, where you come from, if you're male or female, whatever. But you probably know, it's like there's a stigma for women, and especially women who want to direct and want to be like the person, the person that you go to make the
Mhm.
final decision. So I'm just like incredibly grateful that I was able to work with those people, and that ultimately I feel really really grateful and thankful that we were able to work together in a very familiar sense. Like we spent so much time together that we were really able to get to know one another, and that the final product I feel actually represents that. Like you can feel that there's synergy in the tracks, and I'm just proud of the product that I now have. It was like a 2-year process of recording and a 3-year process before that, even just
Wow.
getting the funds and figuring out the styles and, who I wanted to work with on everything. So, yeah, it's just like a huge, huge accomplishment for me, especially in this day and age where people don't really release full records anymore. It's kind
Right.
of like a little bit of a fool's errand, but we were able to pull it off. And I'm just like really proud of what we came up with.
Awesome. So this is possibly the last question for me, and it's going to be a
Possibly.
lot of things. Possibly, I reserve the right to ask another one, but it's going to be a few things in here. What's next? When can we expect the book? Where can we find the book? Your album? Where can we get the album? Talk to us about that, and also please plug yourself as far as where can we find Lakin? Other than YouTube, is your website? Give us all the info, please.
Sure, sure. So a couple of things. First, the album can be found anywhere that you find digital music. I'm selling the physical copies as well, though nobody, hardly anybody uses CDs anymore. However, there's that option through my website, which is lakinmusic.com, Lakin music.com. And everything is available through the website. What's next for me? I have a couple things. The book is one of the things I'm working on. I did a fundraiser that was able to facilitate a lot of the early funds of the record. So the book was the original idea the book was one of the original ideas that I wanted to use for one of the rewards for my fundraising partners. And so I'm just gonna make the book, and then I'm gonna also put that on my website so that if people want to know, like these stories, kind of like the honeysuckle thing, a little bit like that. So I put the story, I put the original lyrics in there, I put different pictures that have to do with either the record making process or the inspiration. So that's coming up. Probably going to finish that within a week, and then that'll be up on the site. And then something else that I'm really looking forward to, because of COVID, we don't know like when this is going to happen, but I've been in contact with a couple of people that are going to try to help me get this project off the ground, where I'm going to create a music video film, if you will, that I use each of my songs from the record to tell different stories. So if you guys have ever seen like the movie Crash, for instance, what I loved about that movie is that there were a bunch of different storylines that kind of converged together. But the best thing about it was that in one scene you might have a person who is considered the bad guy, and then in the next scene, they flip the script and you see, oh, like this person isn't just black and white, there's a full range of color and humanity. And so I want to use 3 issues that are near and dear to my heart, which are the LGBT plus community and the church issue, immigration, and racial justice. And those are 3 things that directly, reflect my life as well, because me being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, being half Mexican and half black, all 3 of those issues, are really, they are really near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to kind of paint a narrative where I use the different songs to talk about some of those issues, and then the storylines will kind of intersect. So whenever COVID kind of, lifts the curtain on us being able to get together again, I'm really going to start trying to put that together. And I'm really excited about that because, for one, I just really love film and its abilities to tell stories. But I also think that it's going to expand the layers and the meanings of the songs that I wrote to include more than just what, I applied them to in my own life, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm really excited for that to be kind of the next bigger thing. And then of course I'll be releasing little singles and possibly an EP a little bit down the road as well.
Well, I look forward to all of that. Everything you just mentioned, look forward to it. I definitely will be taking a look at the website, keeping in contact with you too, if you don't mind. As Eric mentioned, would love to have you on a show, talking a little basketball. Definitely love to have you that. And 2 of the 3 topics you mentioned, we've actually covered in previous shows, and that being LGBTQ community and racial injustice. Those are topics that are not going to go away. It's going to be things that always needs to be addressed. So, we may tap you on your shoulder if you have any free time that may be able to come back for one of those shows as well.
Absolutely. I would love to. I love talking about this stuff. I could talk about it for hours, of course. So I would love to come back and we can delve a little bit more into those issues then.
Perfect.
And also one of my personal favorite shows when we did Biracial in America too, where we had a panel of individuals that are of mixed ethnicities. It's a very powerful show. So, there's definitely a lot of facets, that you covered that we do support. So we believe that everybody should have like equal rights. This is a nation supposed to be the best nation in the world, which I truly believe it is. But even though we're the best nation, we still got a lot of work to do.
Sure. And James Baldwin has a great quote about that. He's like, because I love my country, I insist on critiquing it because you want to make it better, So, yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. And I would love to come back and chat some more with y'all. You guys are great. And Yeah, thanks for giving me this platform. It's awesome.
No problem. Thank you for being a part of it as well. You just, I don't know if you got an opportunity to see this, but the show of shows, the Talent Search show, has become the most viewed show that we've had on our platform. So thank you to you. Thank you to all the other contestants that was on this show. And once again, congratulations for taking home the win.
Thank you. I mean, I seriously was kind of shocked, but yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you're a talented person, so any success that you get, don't be shocked. You're very humble, and thank you for being very humble, but expect greatness.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, Lakin, it was our pleasure having you on the show once again, and we definitely look forward to future communications with you.
Absolutely. I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great one. I'm not even going to say the catchphrase, Eric. It was not even needed.
No, it's definitely not needed at all. So we had a very special guest. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fade to black.
Yes. Have a good night, America.
All right. Thank you. Stay safe, America.